Hello, my name is Alexander Morari, and I'm the founder of ITKeyMedia. You've tuned into our podcast about Central and Eastern European startups that are in pre-Series A stage. And our guest today is Mislav Malenica, the co-founder of Mindsmiths. Mindsmiths is an AI startup from Croatia on a mission to bridge the gap between organic and synthetic intelligence. I like this combination a lot. I like this combination a lot. And this is not my words. This is what you describe yourself on some public domain platforms. Dobro dan, Mislav.
Dobar dan, Alex.
I'm happy also to meet Mislav here on this podcast because this is, I think, the first or maybe the second Croatian startup ever.
Oh.
On this podcast, yes, and we have now around 70 guys. This is unique because not often you meet a co-founder of a promising startup that has 5 kids and six around the corner. Kid number 6 around the corner. How do you survive those kids? I think I have a different, interesting, challenging fatherhood. 3 kids, 2 of them like charismatic trolls that require lots of attention. And how do you survive? 5.
Oh, it's very simple. It's all algorithms. You just have algorithms, and then you can scale like with how many kids you want. It's very easy to scale if your algorithms actually work. Like if it works for 3 or 4, then it can work for 5, 6, up to 10, I would say.
Yeah, amazing romantic approach to family planning by 21st century gentlemen, should I say. So as we discussed,
yes.
Also Mislav's wife is a nuclear physicist, so I understand she has her own professional interest. Just because she can charge 1 or 2 nuclear power plants by from the energy of your kids.
Well, maybe if we were in Matrix, maybe.
Matrix? Oh no.
Not the last part.
Okay. Let's not go into Matrix spiel because I've been reminded and I've been signaled by Matrix in the last several months so often. My team and my family already has enough of me when I say, "Oh, remember I said that," and then that was repeated there, like all of a sudden Matrix, and there are signals all around me. Maybe I should sleep more. Now, on the serious side, look, Matrix, not Matrix. This is an AI-driven, AI-based startup. Let's start the warm-up kind of part of the conversation with my question: why do you think AI will be manageable in the near future, in the long-term future as well? Because I understand this is a rhetoric question for you, whether or not AI can be managed and is not dangerous. But how can you be sure that it will not expand beyond controllability by humankind?
I'm not sure that we need to be sure in that. It's more about I choose to live my life by being inspired by what's possible and not scared of like the worst case scenario. Still, AI is like just a tool, like in hands of people, and there are some people that can actually misuse it. But I would say there's even more people who will actually use it to do good. And if we educate ourselves about like what's possible, what's not possible, then we just won't be so terrified about these gloomy scenarios at the moment. And this future where maybe AI will actually move out of our control, you're still not there. It'll take like decades probably. Yeah. So I would say right now it's a tool. It can be a powerful tool, and I'm like professionally in this space for 17 years. And what makes me very unhappy right now is that the level of adoption or what we are doing with AI, that's just not as exciting as it should be. AI should be much more exciting. And that's how I also founded actually Mindsmiths, because the idea is actually what excites me about the AI is the autonomy. Yeah, it's not like recognize cat or a dog, read text from an image, or create like some kind of image. It's like, let's give a power of autonomy to machines. Let's make sure that they are within certain boundaries and that they can actually learn about us and they can actually help us. And that's why what we are building, we call it like autonomous support systems. So these are the systems that can actually automatically make decisions, but are there to support people in what they're doing.
So basically what you mean, AI is not in its full kind of beauty when it's based on recognition of patterns. And you want to go beyond, right? It's not only the recognition of pictures, words, like language processing and so on. Mindsmiths, and that's the name of the company, just to remind, Mindsmiths, you're sure will be able to go one step further from pure recognition, which is more mechanical kind of processing of information, and be more autonomous, as you say, and closer to a like thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than
so it's
reacting, reflecting.
Exactly. It's a difference between automation and autonomy. So automation is like when you actually operate in a space where everything is black or white. And if things are not black and white, you just stop. You as a machine, you just stop and you wait for some human to save you. And autonomy is that you are aware that things are like gray, the world is gray, and you still need to make decisions.
Yeah.
So when if we, for example, need to take autonomous driving, we know that like with certain probability, the car will recognize the traffic light, the lines, the cars, the people, and so on. But it still needs to make decisions, even if it's not like completely sure what needs to, and that's what people are doing. And I think that what we've seen in our history, that a lot of people will, in the situations when they're not completely sure what to do, they'll actually default to doing nothing and maybe causing more harm by doing nothing than if actually they try to do something and then statistically actually made a difference. So for example, Mindsmiths technology right now is used in healthcare, it's used in banking, right now we're using it in education. And we know that we cannot make a perfect decision, or the machine cannot make a perfect decision every time. But we know that by doing, we are creating more value than if we were just waiting and saying, oh, it's a machine, it's not a black or a white, we cannot do anything.
Okay. Yeah. So you still need to have this feedback loop, right?
Yeah, you of course.
And the difference is, and the difference with other AI systems or products or companies is that you allow the machine to take the risk of making a decision and then adapt to the new situation and context, right?
Okay. Yeah, we basically, okay, the humans are the ones who actually take the risk. So basically our clients who actually use our technology will just make sure that they're aware that you cannot always be right. But they'll take the risk by knowing that, like when they see statistics, when they see actually test results, when they see what's happening, they'll just say, look, like the benefits of it like really outweigh all the potential actually bad scenarios, and especially because these bad scenarios can really be limited. So we have something that what's called like human in the loop. So human in the loop is the person who is actually overseeing what's going on and can always jump in. But the idea is actually that if you have like one person, let's say 1,000 patients or 1,000 people that you're helping, and not 1,000 people and 1,000 patients. So you're like this human with the help of a machine that's autonomous, they can do miracles. Yeah.
Okay. Look, just to make sure, we are now deep in round one, where we discuss the solution, the product. And could you please make a switch or a gap to, a bridge to the product itself?
Okay. Yeah. So the product.
What you're doing, what you're developing.
I'll share my my presentation with you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. So basically, this is how I usually explain to people. We are saying when we are thinking about autonomous driving, people, especially scientists or public, usually think it's like you have sensor, you have like a steering wheel, and then you have just trained neural network, deep learning in between. And if you build that model, it just works. That's how it works in a lab. But in real life, it usually looks like this. So there are many systems that will make this compliant with the real world, that are backup systems that need to do a lot of things, because it just cannot be a black box doing it all together. Okay. So what we are helping companies bridge that gap from theory to reality by saying, look, Mindsmiths platform will enable you to focus on what matters. So we have the platform, and you just need to fill in the boxes. And by filling boxes, you'll invest far less time, let's say 20% of time, and you'll build a bulletproof system that's ready for the real world. And also, you don't need to have like an army of engineers, let's say like hundreds of AI engineers who can build you this kind of platform, because platform is already here. You need to focus on like what's your business logic and how you create business value. So basically what we are saying right now, every bank, every telco, every hospital, every school can actually build their own autonomous system that can actually help their clients. They'll still need to be like to understand technology, but they just don't need to have like enormous amount of resources because the platform is already there. So I would say it's similar to how UiPath actually brought a revolution to this, like how to automate business processes. We want to actually bring it to the next level by helping people to actually incorporate autonomy in their businesses.
All along within the, could you please bring back this last slide?
Okay, yeah, of course. Here it is.
So I understand also like low code, no code is also part of your value proposition. So let's focus here a little bit. What's the use case here, or is it a generic situation?
This is a generic platform, and I can tell you the use cases that we already have.
Yes,
okay?
Please. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And guide me through these blocks or models that you mentioned here.
Okay, so what you see on the left side, these are the input channels. So this is how the platform, how the brain of the platform gets signals. It can get it from like CRM, from email, from mobile apps, from web, and so on. So whenever you are actually interacting with someone, let's
wait,
use
or sensors, right? Or sensors.
Or sensors. Exactly. You're right. So let's we usually have let's take one of our cases. It's with healthcare patients.
Yeah.
So we have like patients suffering from chronic conditions, from high blood pressure. And we can talk with the patient, and we can also be connected to a device of the patient. So device actually measures the blood pressure, measures temperature, and so on. And then basically that goes as an input to our system, what you see as a fast lane. And in a fast lane, we can actually basically very quickly collect all the information about that patient that we have. Then we can actually figure out like, is the patient in the danger? Basically, the whole thing that the system is doing is saying, can I help this patient at this moment in any way? If yes, then on the output channels, I'll send either a message, please do this, or I'll ask a question, or I'll alarm a doctor, and so on.
Yeah.
If I cannot do this, I'll just remain quiet. So what you see bottom left, there is this box called heartbeat. Heartbeat is something that gives a signal. So on every heartbeat, I take your data, I calculate is a way how I can help you. If I can, I do something. If I cannot, I just remain silent. Yeah. And very often, for example, we are not just connecting, let's say that this is a digital nurse. This digital nurse is not just helping a patient. She's also helping a doctor. She's just saying, look, doctor, I have a very conflicting situation here. I don't know how to help. What would you advise me? Then doctor said, I do this, and then digital nurse can again, take over, control, and then engage with the patient again. Okay. But basically, we use this same system for a banking assistant that's helping people use banking products better, for a teaching assistant that helps students actually build better careers by actually learning about what are their interests, where they should actually go for the internship, what kind of network they should actually build, what kind of extracurricular activities they should do, and so on. So you can do like a lot basically on the same infrastructure.
And then from fast lane to slow lane, what triggers this switch?
So fast lane is like you want your system to be really proactive and really fast. So that's fast lane. So in fast lane, everything is in milliseconds.
Yeah.
In slow lane, you're just saying, oh, I would love to analyze this, and this will take me 30 minutes. Just start that analysis. Like,
and this is where human is welcome. Welcome to
human is also welcome there, but also some slow models. You have some deep learning model that is actually slow to evaluate. You just cannot wait
or something.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot wait in a fast lane for that. Why? Exactly, because like what's very important in real life examples is that you're not blocked. Your analysis is not blocked. So, for example, if I come to a doctor and doctor talks with me, and doctor just starts asking me questions, and it's a middle of some kind of diagnostic procedure, and then suddenly I just start bleeding. Doctor cannot be blocked by waiting for an X-ray. He needs to immediately react to a new signal. That's why fast lane is never blocked. It always automatically evaluates like very fast in milliseconds. Is there a way, what should I do now? What should I do now? And so on. And then just triggers some slow lane procedures, just triggers like ask a doctor for help or a banker for help, an outside expert for help. But fast lane, nothing can actually stop it. It's super fast, and it can we can actually right now evaluate like 2,000 users per second. So like in a basic setup.
So in a way, this is kind of a small hint at what we all live in, which is a simulated reality.
Yeah, you're right. Like I would say this is like a really all this architecture is heavily borrowed from how our brain actually functions, and like what we keep on a conscious level, what we keep on a subconscious level, and how we actually how all these things get together. Yeah.
So let me guess. Then fast lane would be the lizard brain.
Okay. Yeah, it's a combination. I would
immediate
say.
Reaction to some
immediate reaction, that would be something that's in rule engine. So in rule engine, for example, you model what we call reflexes, or what you could call a lizard brain. But because there is not a lot of cognition there, it's more about like this happens, then react in this way.
True. Okay. So that's the traditional AI, more mechanic, automatic, not autonomous. Okay.
Yeah, and the idea is like when we start building something, then we like really usually like our clients usually start by engraving some kind of knowledge into the rule engine, so that they can very fast have a prototype, and then very soon they actually can start replacing parts that they actually have in the rule engine with some either probabilistic Bayesian networks or with some deep learning models and so on. It's very similar how we have it in our brains. For some aspects, we have like it's a reflex. For some aspects of our how we function, we just have like a very complicated model inside our head that's actually trying to predict the future and trying to calculate the risk and what makes sense for us and what doesn't make sense for us.
Yeah.
But basically, sorry. Sorry,
let
Alex,
me just finish this off. Or what chord or what note to play on the guitar in a jazz jam session.
Yeah. No, you're right. And so for me, like as I said, with 17 years of experience in AI, for me it was all about like AI should be much more exciting. And with this kind of system, if you are a startup, if you're an enterprise, you have a team, and you don't want to waste time on building tools, you can very fast build things that are exciting. Is it like autonomous driving? Is it a robotic vacuum cleaner? Is it a digital doctor? Is it a digital teacher? It doesn't matter. The architecture is always the same. The principles are the same. Yeah.
One last thing on this slide. Why didn't you include an IoT based kind of channel for input?
I would say this slide wasn't actually built for this presentation. So you are right. An IoT channel and signals should be there, but for this client who we were actually presenting that they don't have it. So
okay. I thought maybe there's some other more kind of general explanation for this.
Okay,
but let's get back then.
You're really like thinking in the right way. Yeah, that's it.
Mislav, thanks a lot. I think we understand now, or at least I do, a little bit better what you're doing, and
at least there's one person who understands it really well.
Yes, I learned to
I would say.
I know that first you pretend to understand. You pretend to understand, and then you start to understand little pieces and bits of that, and then all of a sudden you're an expert. But on a serious note, let's maybe discuss now the business side of the project. So you mentioned on the go that you have a number of clients in different different like spaces. If you could like expand on that, how many clients? How difficult it is to sell now? Is it a is it an MVP or a full scale, fully fledged project that you need to scale right now? Please.
So maybe the best way how to explain it is actually to explain you the history of Mindsmiths. So Mindsmiths was founded 2 years and 3 days ago. So 3 days ago we had a birthday, second birthday, and in the first year we were mostly building the platform. Like we've spent like most of the first year in like building the platform, talking with like first potential customers and so on. And this second year, we were actually going for what we call flagship projects. So like, let's find enterprises, let's find like big names in the industry. Let's convince them to give us a chance, and let's show them like what we can build on our technology. So I must say that we are really heavily inspired with UiPath's strategy of go-to-market strategy. So we said like the first year is like to prove to ourselves, like internally, that this will work. The second year is actually find few real cases like where you can actually do it. And we have like a market leader in banking, a market leader in telco, market leader in healthcare. We have like one of the European market leaders in education and so on as our clients. And all these clients, what they share is that they're early adopters. Yeah. So we know that we are not like a mass market product right now, similar how UiPath was not that, or Salesforce was not the mass market product from in the early days, because it requires you need to educate the market of like how it's being used. But in this second year, we now have like 8 clients, and all I would say like 5 of these clients these are the flagship projects. And then we raise serious seed round. So our seed round first is like 1.2 million euros. And by the end of the next year, we are planning to raise Series A. For Series A, we want to show that other companies without our help can actually use our product to actually show the same success that we are showing with the clients that we have right now. So that will prove that it's basically a tool that other people can actually use, similar as UiPath, like because with UiPath, they were also like doing a lot of, we have a tool, but we'll do the consulting to help you use our tool. And then we'll teach you how you can actually use it yourself. So we are doing the same approach. They're saying our tool last year was not mature enough so that people could actually use it by themselves, but they gave us a chance that we can actually use it and build it. So right now we have like 8 clients. If we talk in terms of revenue, we are around like 400,000 euros revenue this year. Next year will be around like 1 million euros revenue. But revenue is not like that's so much important for us at this moment. For us, it's more important to show predictability, like to show that, look, this tool, different clients from different industries can actually use it. They love to use it. Retention is high. They're building, and it's catching up. Yeah.
Mislav, so you chose to go after flagship clients, you could say, and those are, I understand, what big, like visible players.
Exactly.
In their specific, which means you spend so much time, I understand, on sales, and the sales cycle is huge, and then it sucks your efforts, sales and marketing efforts on one client, where of course you're attacking and trying, and imagine you fail one big client for different reasons. You lose, you know what I mean? Like if you go right away after the potential biggest clients in a business, in an industry, then, and this is negative, isn't that a big risk? Rather than to start with smaller.
It is a risk, but that's why you're not making one bet. So we weren't going for one client. We are basically saying, for us, it's just like saying, look, we have market leaders using our product, and we went in different verticals for several market leaders. If we in the end had 3, we would still be happy. We have like 5, and we are very happy. Like and we know that was like a phase 2 strategy. Phase 2 was actually buy credibility. And now we are entering.
What do you mean? By giving pilots or by giving lots of discounts from nominal?
No, I would say that these enterprises got like a super talented people working on their products, learning about their businesses for a price that was like really modest.
Yeah, this is what I have in mind. So you're
exactly.
what willingly, right? Intentionally, of course, you have to, but also intentionally giving discounts. You define this as buying credibility. Nice. I mean, very often people do this automatically or unawares, but that's the true nature of what you're doing, giving discounts to buy credibility, not to get the first client. Interesting.
Yeah,
this is more like future proof kind of definition of what we're doing.
Exactly, because like we knew that for seed round, we'll need to show that our product creates value somewhere where you already have clients, you already have numbers, it can move the needle in the right direction. So we made sure that in all these flagship projects, we can measure the KPI, and we can show that our tool, our platform, moved the KPI for the bank, for the healthcare institution, for the insurance company in the right direction. And that was enough for our seed investors to say, okay, like that makes sense. What's the next step? And we'll say, next step is right now to say, look, this is what we achieved here, and this is documented. And now we'll go to businesses directly, and we'll say, look, use our platform as a competitive advantage. So now for us is more about actually finding a scalable business model, because like selling enterprises, as you said, it's a long sales cycle. It can work, it doesn't, maybe it won't work, and so on. You're not learning as fast as you could actually learn if you would have like I don't know, instead of like having 10 enterprises, having like 200 like startups as your clients, you would learn so much faster. And now we want to move into that track. So we want to say, okay, we want to now find like really fast and agile teams. We don't care anymore, are they like the biggest company in the world? If they have a smart team, and we'll invest in like how to educate these people, how to use the platform, and then we'll learn by seeing what they're doing and by helping them to achieve their goals. So for example, by the end of the next year, when we actually want to raise like a Series A, we want to prove to the market that we have a predictable business model of licensing our platform, and that when we raise Series A, that we can actually use that money for sales, marketing, and actually opening different markets,
and meet a new set of challenges with SMBs or not as flagship clients as you have right now. I wanted to cover the diversity of your verticals right now. So you mentioned education, banking, healthcare, insurance. What else?
Telco, retail. Yeah, so we have like a retail client who's online. We have like insurance company, telco company, bank company, education company.
Cool.
Probably I already have. And yes, like why we did it, because we were actually targeting teams of like early adopters or individuals who are very, like I would say, strong leaders who are on the market there to actually to say like what's new. And because we know that although it's hard to sell to enterprises, it's impossible to sell if they're not early adopters, if they're not like the ones who are actually setting trends.
How do you qualify a corporate to be potentially an early adopter? I mean, technically, how did you do this? Did you like analyze or research the history and background as far as interaction with startups? And
so I would say I'm not very young anymore. So when I was doing my first startup and spending time in San Francisco, I was like everything was like new and shiny and weird. Right now, you know the people, you know who's doing what on the market. You see in their actions, in their past performance, how they're actually behaving on the market, and then you just go straight to them and you said, look, I have a new shiny thing that can give you a competitive advantage. Will you give me a chance to show you like what it can do for you? And basically some of them will say it's not the right timing, some of them will say it's right timing, but not many people with this kind of mindset will just say, I don't know, I don't want a competitive advantage. They'll at least listen to you. And if you go to someone else who's just like follower without the ambition actually to overtake the leader, they'll usually just say, let me wait for it to become a market standard. When it will become a market standard, then my team will be forced into implementing something like that.
Yeah. One last question here. Who is usually your best champion with the large players in those?
Chief digital officer, chief information officer, something on that kind of relation. Someone who is holding digital channels and so on. If this is like a bank and so on, it's not CEO or it's not even a board member. It's usually they're like too high and they're not like that much hands-on. Also, we have like a chief technical officer who is actually thinking about how the tech stack of their architecture will look like, and because they need to see like does our platform fit into their tech stack.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, nothing surprising there, but just I thought I would ask to help those young ones, okay, that are not as experienced as you are.
Well, yeah.
Mislav, thanks a lot. I think we've covered a lot, and let's move on now in kind of staccato style.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
Round two, competitors. Choose like your approach. Do you have one or two closest competition to what you're doing? If yes, how do you plan to crush them, or how would you discuss them in the market?
Yeah, well, I would say we have because there's a lot of confusion in the market. There's also a lot of competitors, and some of them are real competitors, some of them are not real competitors. Okay. So one of the first things that we had to do is actually move away from calling ourselves an AI platform or something like that, because AI is such a broad term and it really confuses the market, and no one then knows what you're doing. That's why we are saying we are like in an autonomous support system space, and we are trying to define that as a niche, so that we can actually move away from reactive tools like chatbots or customers support centers and so on, so that we can also move away from machine learning frameworks where basically you don't have autonomy, you're just building complex models and so on, from big data players. We are all in the broader AI space. And then when you talk with clients, you realize that the level of, I would say, literacy on what's AI and how it's being used and how it can be applied is still very low. And then it's very important that you actually find your own niche and position yourself in the right way. So I would say in the beginning, there was like a lot of confusion, and people would actually confuse us with like what Amazon is doing, what UiPath is doing, what Braze is doing, what Infobip is doing, and so on. We also have like one of our, I would say, people will also confuse us with, for example, IBM Watson. Like IBM Watson is super powerful, like a framework for building things, but I would say that they're mostly based on like natural language processing, understanding unstructured text, and so on. And right now we are basically saying, look, if you need machine learning, these guys are better than us. If you need robotic process automation, these guys are better for us. If you need to broadcast messages, these guys are better, and so on. If you want to empower your customer support center, these people are better. And we are in a very specific niche of where your brand wants to proactively engage with customers. And we are saying, if you want to build an experience where your app or your bank or your telco wants to show that they are 24/7 crunching data, analyzing signals in order to find a way how to help you proactively, then you don't have another tool. Or you can do it with some other tools, but they're not specialized for that. We are specialized for that. Okay. And that's how we are usually fighting the competition. So for each of these competitors that I actually named, we can easily show how these are two technologies that can work in parallel or together. So we integrate with them and so on. But I would say the most important strategy that we have is actually to be able to very clearly to define to our client when they should use us and when they should use something else. Because we didn't build Mindsmiths because something like that already exists. We built it because we had that need, and we couldn't find a tool, and we tried a lot. But maybe if you have like some specific questions, I could actually maybe ask that, like, because I can talk about this topic for hours, and I know that we don't have that much time.
Good diplomacy skills. You have not mentioned a pretty close and more like a startup that is closer to your level of advancement and evolution. But anyways, your answer.
Which one?
I don't know. It's up to you. So what I understood that you created a new niche and you own this niche. And to help you, maybe if you have not thought of this before, you could still say that you are an AI based startup, but you define AI a little bit differently, not artificial intelligence, but autonomous intelligence.
Yeah, so that's why, right? We are saying, like, for that very, very small niche, we want to be the number one. We don't want to be number 2 or 3 in all other niches. Like, we just want to be number 1 in this very specific niche.
Mislav, let's move on. Round 3, quick Q&A, and share with us your best productivity hacks that you think help you be, you know, on top of things. And again, not the tools, but the hacks, meaning how you do, right? How you do things rather than with what tools.
I do a lot of thought experiments. So, for example, you asked me like how I'm handling that many kids, and I said algorithms. I would say for a lot of things, I develop, like, for example, if in hiring, I have 2 thought experiments, and every candidate that actually comes here for an interview will go through these 2 thought experiments. And based on these 2 thought experiments, I'll very quickly make a decision: is this person a right combination, a right fit for the company? So, like, in many aspects of the business, I'm trying to create like principles, like algorithms, like that can actually help me quickly make decisions. Because do
you mean the approach? If A then B, if B then C, or what type of algorithms you have in mind? Especially, for instance, for hiring. Every founder has issues with hiring right now, right?
Yeah, so I would say, like, for example, for hiring, find who's a good candidate, especially because not all candidates come prepared at the same level. Some of them are really prepared, and if you have standard questions, standard interviews, and so on, you can fall for many tricks. So basically, what I said after I had probably like 500 interviews so far in my life, and I just created like these few thought experiments where I can basically put a lot of pressure on your CPU, on your brain, like, so that you actually don't know what's going on. I put you in completely new situation, and you're not aware what I'm actually testing, and that helps me in a small amount of time to find the traits that I'm looking for. So, for example, I'm a big fan of a human brain. I'm in love with human brain, and it can be a CEO or it can be a person actually cleaning the street. I don't care. I think that all human brains are solving the same equation of life, and I adore human brain. So for me, when I was like building Mindsmiths, my setup was this: first, find the market that you actually want to conquer. Then, marketing and efficiency, choose a right type of a culture that can conquer that market. So company culture, like, that was my second step. What kind of company culture can conquer that market? So, for example, in AI space right now, I believe that it won't be possible in the next 10 years or later to build a big tech company without a strong social impact. If your company doesn't have a social impact engraved in its roots, in a moment when humanity is already afraid that we cannot control technology and that technology is maybe controlling us, that your environment actually won't support you in actually winning. So from the start, we chose a company culture that's very mission driven, value driven. Let's build technologies that will, in a responsible way, create the world a better place. That's why we also, when we were picking our seed investors, we picked seed investors who are actually a social impact venture fund, so that one of the KPIs that we need to report will be actually how we influence the society around us. just to make sure that everybody knows, and we also, and people in the company, people outside of the company, that we are really committed to this and we take it seriously. And then so we were actually shaping the I was like deciding what's the culture, after what's the market that we actually want to tackle, and then you start picking people. Like, can I find the people that fit into this culture that can actually help me solve the market issue? So that's why during the interviews, when like people have like interview with me, what they don't realize is that I'm just testing two things. One thing is basically how flexible is your brain in terms of like if I put you in very paradoxical situations and you cannot actually find the right answer and so on, how will you behave? Are you a person that finds that as a learning opportunity, or you're a person that's actually will defend the position? Because I know that
even the first automatic, I mean, first reaction in the eye, in the half smiling and so on, you can see already whether this is a challenger, somebody who will fight, or somebody who is like, oh, paralyzed by a new situation. Interesting.
It's very like, if you do a lot of like experiments with people, and I do also with some my kids, and I'm constantly actually like researching like neuroscience, psychology, and so on, because that's what we're putting into our platform. It's very easy to put people in a situation where they'll be in a conflict, what they were actually thinking, what they were actually thinking before. And then it's all about like, will you actually react in a way, oh my God, wow, that's a gap here in my head, and now I'm aware of it, and then I can actually fix it, I can fix the algorithm? Or you are like, no, like what's going on, like I feel very unpleasant and very uncomfortable? Because I know that like in Mindsmiths, you cannot succeed if you are uncomfortable, if you don't know something, because here it's all about learning, like how fast you're learning. I don't care if you are 2 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. If you cannot actually jump these levels very fast, you won't be actually, you're not a fit, you won't actually be happy here.
I can show off something. I can show off something that I think is of me as a parent. I am proud, partially because of solutions like this that I share with my kids. You know yourself, when like I have 18, 10, 7, and all of them have their own beds. That to make them do their beds regularly in the morning it's a challenge. Okay, and so at some point I gathered them together and I said, guys, nobody's doing their bed. Okay, it was before I introduced a military kind of order into this. But now I thought maybe to engage their brains, as you say, and maybe to challenge the status quo. And I say, why do you think we parents ask you to do the beds? Different solutions. One of them was, I think, brilliant. And somebody said, hey, wait. And the 10-year-old said, if we don't do our bed, then the dust will fall on the pillow, you know, on the bed itself, and then we will be breathing in the dust during the night. I say, brilliant. You have the right not to do your bed for the whole week, and everybody else will do your bed. And this is one of the like simple solution to a time, like, you know, to a long time kind of challenge. Nobody told this to me, and nobody. I'm sure you haven't heard this, you know, definition of the problem of the task as well. And from that moment, all of a sudden, everybody does their bed. Of course, I also added some disciplinary rules there and so on. Anyway, it's interesting. But you didn't share with us any thought experiment that you had in mind. Give one or two example. Like maybe I had in mind that maybe here's an idea I had in my mind for recruiting for my own company, to mix balls of different color. Let's say I have a bowl of yellow and blue little balls, and then asking the guy to divide them into two by color, into two balls, you know, and at the same time asking them logical or maybe like difficult like mathematical, I mean logical questions, or asking about their experience, and maybe this will help me get into the like true answer, you know, in a way, or at least see how they react to multi-dimensional kind of activities or multitasking. This is what I wanted to share. Can you share with us your secrets?
It's not like that I have a problem sharing. It's just I think it will take a lot of time, because it's like more like thought experiments are more about like creating a setting, creating this. It's a story, and then basically you just need to actually put. We started with the metrics. Is like basically putting you in like in some imaginary world where basically you need to start making decisions.
I see.
And it takes time, and that's the only reason. Like I just don't want to take too much time. Yeah, it's not like a yes or no question. It's more about like how you react, and then you need to create like a right atmosphere for that. But maybe when you actually ask me about all these like hacks or principles and so on, I really believe like in this concept like servant leadership. And I really believe that, for example, my job and anyone else's job is actually like 5% of time I lead and 95% of time I just follow and I support someone else. And that it's very important for anyone else actually just to see it, so that like you empower people and you empower them actually to make mistakes and then to try, because that's the learning process. Because like one of the hardest thing for I would say, especially for new founders and for young startups, is that they don't know how to cope with failure. Like they take failure not as a learning opportunity, they take it as a signal, and it's a very strong signal, especially because environment, like it's a little bit different if you're in a Silicon Valley. Like when I was spending time there, then you would see that the culture there or the knowledge in your environment is already there, that they'll just say, oh yeah, just keep on trying, like go and grind and so on. Here, especially like in Central and Eastern Europe, it's still more about like, oh, you want to be an entrepreneur? Yeah, like and people like if there is a signal that maybe you are not succeeding in something, your environment won't be able like to tell you, look, this is a learning opportunity. They'll just tell you it's a signal that was a bad idea, that you shouldn't actually do it. And that's something, for example, especially when I'm mentoring some startups and so on, one of the hardest lessons that founders need to actually learn is actually, look, you cannot allow yourself to be delusional. You need to be like the hardest critic to yourself, but don't react to irrelevant signals. Like, because you're building something that goes against like what's intuitive to market. Like most of the signals will be actually, it will go against you until you're, I don't know, a scale up or like a decacord, something like that. But until then, they'll mostly be against you. Just be very disciplined in a way that you have processes how you're making sure that you're not delusional. How you can actually say, look, how you can actually evaluate, and will actually the result of that experiment you'll find to be valid. Are you delusional or not? So for example, when we were talking about the first year, for us, the first year was, let's test it on a theoretical level. Does it make sense? Not in a way that it's four of us in a room and telling each other how it makes sense. It's more about calling people and telling them about our theory, seeing will they actually find a way how to, by using just words, make it like obsolete, irrelevant, and so on. Then after that, let's build a prototype for ourselves and then test it. Like, will it touch people in the right way? Because what I really believe is that the era of engineers and scientists in AI is over. Like the next 10 years, next 15 years will be about design in AI, about introducing humanists to the field, because we already have methods how we can actually, based on data, calculate what's the next best action. But what we don't have, we still don't have a way how to touch a person in the right way so that that person actually really changes something. And that's like what I think is like a really important here as well.
Do you mean to say that we are about to start new should I say new generation of sciences like AI? Correct me if I'm wrong. AI philosophy, AI sociology, AI based kind of psychology, or in psychology of AI based interaction between humans as similar to this, right? Like this new synthesis of new dimension of social sciences as an outcome of AI adoption and implementation into everyday
So what I'm trying to say is that the technology, the tools that we already have are already good enough. Yeah. What we are lacking is like product people, humanists, designers who can actually use these tools and build products that people love to use. And if people will love to use it, then we'll collect more data. Based on the data, we'll make better algorithms and so on. So right now we don't have problems that much with, we need a new type of neural network. No, we're really good at it already, but we don't have a lot of products that people really love to use in a way that, for example, I think that every kid that's born should actually have a digital person taking care of like how to make good financial decisions, how to make good healthcare decisions, in order to stay healthy, how to make good decision about how to educate yourself and so on. Because if we help people make better decisions, like they'll live happier and more fulfilling lives. And in order to do that, we need to understand better human psychology. So we can actually, for example, see the evolution that happened in the watch industry. We had like the analog watch, and you need to have like a master craftsman who can actually build an analog watch. And then there was a digital watch, and you can build it for $1. Like it doesn't cost like hours of like super crafty people who can actually do it. And then for years, we thought that engineers will build a smartwatch. Like then engineers will just add more features, more digital features, and it was not happening. And now we have a smartwatch, and smartwatch is, for example, not about showing time at all. It's about, like, for example, creating healthy habits. It's about learning that me as a person need, like, I don't know, like a digital companion, someone in my life who will help me achieve my goals. And showing time is just one of the tools. And that's something that usually doesn't come from a mind of like a programmer or engineer. That's something where you need also someone who understands like human psychology. Yeah.
Mislav, let's get back into the scenario mode and jump to the next round. Round 4 is the company. So you mentioned already that the company is 2 years and 3 days old.
Yeah, 2 years and 3 days, exactly.
Or 2 years and 3 days young, should I say?
Exactly.
Founder on your screens, guys, Mislav Malin. It's 17 years of experience in the AI. He's not only a co-founder, founder of a company in AI. He is the president of Croatian AI association. Yes, thank you. And now the team is around what, 15 people right now, including Atar Ali, founder, lead facilitator, as you call this, Tomica Pustišek, COO, Ante Ukalovic, Jan, Stedu, Bojan Stipic, Majana Habranek, and all the other guys.
How are you finding all these people? Like, why?
You haven't seen them for a long time already, right? I can understand. Speaking of seeing or not seeing, are you home-based, office-based, remote? How do you work? In the last year
we are in the last 2 years office based. So we basically said, look, we are a startup. We'll be super responsible to each other. So what we did, we limited almost all other interactions in our lives, except for the interactions that we had like in the office. And whoever was not able to do it, that person was working from home. But basically, because the motivation is so strong and so on, people are just saying, look, yeah, we want to do it. And especially because like when with COVID just started, we created like a digital assistant for Croatian government, like to help fight COVID, like together with like Oracle, Infobip, and like one other, and then else, like 4 companies. And that was like some of like very magical moments actually happened there, because we managed with this approach, which was like a very human centric, like let's use AI to understand that people are scared, that they don't need the definition of what's coronavirus, what's COVID as a disease. They need answers to some very basic questions like, should I go to the ER? Should I be close at my home? Should I be worried about my kid? Can I actually let my kid go to school and so on?
Yeah.
And that was a moment where, for example, Croatian government was like really brave, I would say, and they allowed us to build an autonomous system that is not 100% right, but is actually providing information. And what we shown is that we lowered the load on call centers that we had like during the peak hours for 25% by actually creating this messenger assistant where you could actually check your symptoms, that could actually tell you, look, worry, don't worry, and so on. So people were actually really motivated by seeing how the technology that we are actually building on our platform can really touch people. And from that moment on, everybody stayed. So we were never actually at home.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. Interesting. So, in a nutshell, you made a managerial decision for everybody to be in the office, but if somebody is not ready or is afraid, of, like quite straightforwardly, or something else, you allowed them to be home-based.
Yeah, so everybody who actually had someone who is actually in one of these like a vulnerable group of people, if you have like a older parent, a chronic condition patient at your home and so on, you would definitely stay at home. Like we would never bring you to office. But everybody else who is actually coming to office, we had like this agreement that we basically will limit all other interactions that we have, and we'll just keep it. This is like our family, and this is something how we'll actually keep it. And that actually kept us together, because otherwise these 2 years would be I would say very, very hard for any startup, because right now we are like 25 people, and you need to have like, I would say like 95% of efficiency on each employee at the moment at this stage of the startup. It's not like you're a corporation, you can have someone actually work a little bit, someone else not work a little bit. You really need everybody else like chipping in. And we were very open, very honest about it. Everybody had like an option, and whoever was actually able to come, people were actually coming.
So what's interesting also about the team in a startup, which is AI, autonomous intelligence driven, let's say, is around 40% or so, I guess, I understand, are from humanities, right? Humanities background, sociologists, psychologists, journalists, economists, designers. Yeah, okay. What's the biggest challenge as far as team growth for 2022?
What's our biggest challenge? I would say our biggest challenge right now is actually, are you thinking in terms of team or terms of business?
Yeah, sorry, in terms of team. Yeah, what's the plan and how challenging are those positions?
Yeah, I would say we as a brand are really good in attracting the engineering talent, and like a lot of people are actually having problem with that. We don't have that as much as a problem, because we are like strongly like mission driven. Autonomies are super hot, and we are trying to communicate with the public and so on. What we see as maybe as a challenge right now for the next year is opening new markets. Like we'll need like selling our product right now. At the moment, how is it like that? It's not an easy task, and we would love to like focus maybe more on US market, maybe more like on like some Western European market and so on. So finding someone who can help us with that I would say could be a challenge, because a lot of these things are hit and miss.
Yeah.
And these are very expensive mistakes, like great salespeople, not super cheap. To onboard them, it takes time, sales cycle is long, and so on. So we are actually looking for like what's the best strategy, how to actually open some of these markets.
If I can, of course, as a side note, as far as expansion globally, try to test crowds or places where your potential clients are in crowds. So for example, like immediate suggestion would be to go to Croatian and X Chamber of Commerce in every country that is of interest for you. That's one immediate. And even not Croatian, but any other chambers of commerce would be interesting. And then of course all those like banking association, real estate investment trust association.
So
you have one
Alex,
membership.
I would say, Alex, like basically that was like our phase 2 strategy, find market leader within the enterprises. Now we actually want to target a little bit more startups, like just to have like more licenses, more clients and so on. So we are looking for startup hubs like, I don't know, like Berlin, I know London, San Francisco, Miami, and so on. Why? Because it's more about predictability, like more about like having more clients and so on. Because like our pitch works well right now. We show our cases, we show how we build it, we show how much time we need, what kind of skills, and we tell it, look, you can do it the same. And people react to that. Right now, it's more about like looking like where is the pool big enough so that when we actually throw our net or cast our net, that we can catch enough fish.
Yeah. Okay. To paraphrase, the fish are looking where the water is deeper, and people are looking for the fish. A little bit paraphrasing, I guess. Let's move on, Mislav, to the final round. Final round is Formula F3, as we call this, funding for the future. You mentioned already by now the funding is what, November, what was that, mid-November 2021, seed round, 1.2 million euros, right? The seed round.
We had like an angel round, 2 angel rounds in total, like 600,000 euros, and then a seed round like 1.2 million euros that happened like 2 months ago. And by the end of the next year, we are planning to raise a Series A round.
Yeah, and you mentioned around what, 1 million? Oh, sorry, no, sorry. 1 million will be your targeted ARR, right? And then
our seed round was like 1.2 million.
Yeah, and then your target for Series A would be?
It would be probably somewhere between like 6 to 10 million.
Yes, and what's the ideal VC profile? You mentioned already somebody like social impact minded, but I guess so global, international, right?
So we will be actually targeting US market. We'll be targeting like German market, and we want to see like who can actually bring some value to the table with that as well. I would say, like in my entrepreneurial experience so far, you cannot expect a lot from VC. Like it's even better. You're super happy if you don't see any problems. If you don't see any problems, then you're super happy if you have like a high quality relationship and so on. Like expecting that they'll do a lot of work for you, I would say that's usually, I don't know, maybe it happens by chance. So we are not expecting that. But we would love to have, we would maybe love to have someone who can actually also help us like when entering some of these markets. And that'd be cool, because in this, and maybe with hiring like people, that's something that where VCs can actually help you.
Have you started already speaking to potential Series A investors? Or otherwise saying, are they welcome right now, or are you not ready to?
No, we have like an mailing list where we have like a list of investors. We are already like in contact. You know that it's all about relationship. No one will actually see you for the first time and then write like a Series A check or seed check or whatever. It's more about like actually telling them, look, this is who we are, this is what we are actually trying to achieve, and then like regularly update them so that they can see that no matter what the problems you encountered and so on, you're still on some trajectory of actually where you can actually succeed. And that's something that really lowers the risk. And also for us, it's very important so that we have some predictability, so that we are not expecting that on the next call we'll meet someone really cool, that we already have like a short list of people who we really like and who we would love to have on board. So yeah, we are always very open to whoever wants to have a coffee, learn a little bit more about what we're doing. We want to get to know the partners. They want to get to know us a little bit. And then it's more about regularly updating. So we'll probably actively start fundraising next year. Right now, it's just more about focusing on like how we'll prepare the strategy to achieve the goals that we've set for the next year.
Yeah, I also like your approach of being in touch with potential investors, even not potential, but just let's say venture VC kind of community, being in touch much, I mean, long time before potential investment event. And that's something that speaking of algorithms and optimization of processes, this is something I keep repeating to my team as well. Don't go for sale right away, go for relationship first and then sale. And in an algorithmic kind of approach that you like, and I like it as well, basically what I say is, imagine N is your sales pitch, is when you actually sell something. Start your relation with a cold contact or cold lead, let's say N -3, -5, -2, depending on like level of client and so on. And more often it works with us when it's N -3, which means, oh, that's an interesting project you just in your situation, you could say that this is an interesting startup that you funded. We met them at the event, blah, 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 N -3, N -2, N -1. And then at some point you naturally pitch them for investment. They might not give you investment, but you still keep the relationship.
No, you're right. Look, we are all people. VCs are people, entrepreneurs are people, employees are people, and so on. And I really think that you need to give something back to community.
Yeah.
And if you can actually connect a VC with great founders, that also makes sense. I just like empowering the community is really important, because it's not possible to build a big company without building like the ecosystem around you, because you just won't have enough tool, you won't have enough support, you won't have enough infrastructure actually to power your business. So while you're building your company, I think everybody should invest a little bit of time actually in also helping to build the ecosystem around it. And VCs are just like part of that ecosystem. When I was like starting, when I was first time in San Francisco, and when I started to do my first VC pitches, I must admit that I was like really terrified. I thought like, oh my God, who knows who I'm going to meet there. They'll be like so super smart. They'll have these incredible tools, how to immediately see the future. Does my business make sense or not, and so on. And then later you just learn that these are just people like you and me. And these people also want to be happy in their lives, want to contribute, create some value, and so on. Yeah. And it's less about selling. It's more about, I don't know, discussing, talking, planning, and so on, and then seeing like who is a good fit for who.
Yeah.
Right.
Guys, Mislav Malin, it's Mindsmiths. While the company still has lots of interesting challenges on the go-to-market and kind of sales and scalability, just as we discussed, the foundations are there. The first ground of this tower of your successes has been built already. Mislav, all the best. Thank you very much. That was a great conversation and a good end for our series of podcasts for this 2021, which was a challenging, interesting year, and I'm sure you will find our happy new next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Bye.
Bye.